Hello everyone and welcome to Black Ops 3 for Dummies. In today's episode we'll be covering Capture the Flag, and there's quite a bit to get to, so I'm going to try to keep this as brief as possible while still getting all the information out. So the first thing we're going to do is cover the basics, and the basics of Capture the Flag is simple. You score points by grabbing the enemy flag and returning it to your flag. The enemy scores points by grabbing your flag and returning it to their flag. There are two ways to stop someone from scoring once they have your flag. Way number one is kill them and then run through the flag, returning it to your base. And way number two is to grab their flag, because if their flag is not at their base, then they can't capture your flag. The game will last for two 5-minute rounds in which both teams score as many times as possible. If it ends with a tie, it'll go to overtime. And overtime gets a little crazy. At overtime, it'll be another 5-minute period in which both teams will try to score. When one of the teams does score, the spawns will flip, and the team that did not score will have the length of time that it took the original team to score again. So if the first team scores in 3 minutes, then that team has to simply keep the other team from scoring for 3 minutes. If the game lasts 3 minutes and that team doesn't score, then the game is over. If they do score in that 3 minutes, the game is also over, but they win. So when it comes to strategies, my favorite strategy is something I'm going to call the spread defense. And we're just going to take a look at the map Fringe. So this is Fringe. And these are all of the paths that the enemy has to get from their base to your base with absolutely no defense whatsoever. So the way the spread defense works is we want to eliminate as many of these yellow lines of travel to our base as we can, while still keeping at least one person around to go after their flag. And we're going to accomplish this through lots of coordination and teamwork. So this is a strategy that you're going to need to have a full party of 4 players to really employ to its strength. So let's just look at the top of the map first. You'll notice that all of the yellow lines on the top of the map spawn from one single line going into the train tracks. So if we put our left defense here in the train track, we can actually cut off all of those yellow lines from that point. So now that we have the left side cut off, we only have to worry about the middle and the bottom of the map. So if we take our right defender and we put him right here, we can actually eliminate the entire bottom of the map. And anybody coming through that hallway there is not going to be able to get past him to the flag. So now we only have to worry about the middle of the flag and any of the paths that branch off the middle of the flag. So if we take our goalie and we put him up here in the barn, or anywhere really that he can see the middle of the map, what he can do is cut off the entire remaining yellow lines, and we still have one person left over to go after the enemy flag. Now this formation is beneficial for several reasons. Number one, they can't possibly get to your flag. There's no way for anybody to get across the map without being seen by one of your defenders and assumably killed by one of your defenders. Number two is you're creating a green zone. So this is the green zone. And you'll notice that the green zone extends pretty far into their territory. So your flag carrier only needs to pick up their flag and carry it into the green zone. Once he's in the green zone, there's not going to be anybody left to kill him, and he has a free run to your flag. So rather than trying to dodge enemy fire and blast his way all the way across the map, he only has to blast his way to the green zone. Now the key here is communication, especially from the goalie, the guy in the middle. You know, the guy in the middle is going to have the largest area to cover, and he's going to have probably the most traffic to cover. So if somebody slips by him, he has to be able to call that out. Hey, they got by me to double window, right side, or they got through the fence, left side, or I just saw somebody jump into the house, something like that. So the rest of your team knows where the people are. It's also important to call out every time you get a kill. If right defender gets 3 kills while left defender hasn't gotten any, then flag carrier knows that left defense is probably the best path for him to go because the enemy isn't going that way. And the flag carrier also needs to be aware of when enemies die because there is a 5-second respawn time in capture the flag. So if, middle and right defender each kill an enemy within 5 seconds of each other, flag carrier needs to know, okay, there's only 2 guys left on the field right now, and I have a better chance of being able to grab their flag. So now let's talk class setups, and we're going to start with goalie. Now the goalie is the guy who's going to be farthest away from the enemy, so he's not going to really need to worry too much about explosives or bullet damage, things like that. But he is also the last line of defense if somebody sneaks past you. So goalie is going to want to have a trip mine so that he can help defend the flag a little bit easier if people get by. But in terms of weapons, you're going to want something long range. You're going to want something like the XR2 or the M8A7 or the ICR or any of the LMGs. I personally prefer LMGs for this role, but that's personal preference. And you're going to want to use attachments that will help you with long range. Mobility really isn't that important. You want something like a foregrip and an optic and things like that on your weapon for the goalie. And for perks, the goalie is going to want to use tracker so that he can see the footsteps. So footsteps are so bright if you're not countering them that you can actually see them from pretty far away. And if you miss somebody, you still have a chance to see where they went and call them out rather than just, well, I didn't see where that guy went. And the goalie should also be the guy with a launcher because if the enemy does manage to get a UAV up in the air, the goalie is the guy who should have enough time between gunfights to take it down. And he doesn't really need all of his perk slots because he doesn't really have a whole lot of things in the perk category to really make him more effective, and so using a trip mine and a launcher really doesn't handicap his class that much. Now your right and left defenders are going to be a little bit different. You want to set yourself up in terms of weapon with something good at close to mid-range. So we're going to talk about like things like the Kuda or the Razorback for SMGs, or pretty much any of the assault rifles are good for it. And as far as perks go, you want things that are going to help you camp. You want things like flak jacket and tactical mask and things like that, so that the enemy is going to know where you are after they're killed by you once or twice, and they're going to be ready for you. So you need to be able to counter whatever it is that they're throwing at you to take you down. I would also suggest a trip mine for the left and right defense, but since the area that they're defending is usually a choke point, a trip mine isn't a necessity. It's just kind of nice to have an extra layer of defense in case you can't quite win a gunfight. And for your flag carrier, you're wanting mobility, fast time to kill, and stealth. So for your weapon, I'm going to suggest going with an SMG, and one of the faster firing SMGs, something like the VMP or the Vesper. And for your perks, you're going to want hardwired so that they can't pick you up on their tracker or sixth sense. And dead silence is going to be really good for the rusher. You're also going to want to use awareness because being able to tell where the enemy is, you're going to be deep in the enemy spawn. And being able to tell where the enemy is going to be very helpful to you. And when it comes to specialists, the rusher is going to obviously want rushing oriented specialists. You're going to want something like kinetic armor or overdrive, or, and this one you may not normally think of, but vision pulse would be really good for the rusher because you're going to be deep in the enemy spawn, and being able to just tell exactly where the enemy is no matter what is going to be really helpful in helping you decide what path to take with the flag once you have it. And just a quick side note, we thought originally that glitch would be really good for the flag carrier to have because you can go grab the flag, then glitch and be 5 seconds closer to your base with the flag and probably behind cover. But we tested this out the other day, and apparently when you pick up the flag, your glitch time starts over. So if you grab the flag and immediately glitch, you're just going to go through the glitch animation and end up exactly where you were when you started glitching. So glitch actually ends up being one of the worst perks or specialists for the flag carrier to use. And for the defenders, I like the just weapon-oriented ones. Things like the Purifier, the Scythe, the War Machine, stuff like that, the Annihilator. Anything that you're good with, go ahead and use that specialist, because you don't want to use one of the good abilities and take it away from your goalie or rusher, because the goalie and rusher have the two biggest, responsibilities in the game. And for your goalie, you want the hive, because again, the goalie is going to be covering the largest area and he's going to have the most paths to cut off, and the hive will help you secure one side of the map and let you focus all of your attention on the other paths of travel that they could take. And if you have all of the paths of travel covered, you're also the closest to the flag yourself, so you could just take your hive and surround the flag with it. Now, score streaks really boil down to whatever you can earn. The HCXD is a decent score streak, although it does take you out of your lane for a while because your character is focused on driving the HCXD. The better score streaks are things like the Guardian and the Sentry Turret and things like that, but only if you can actually earn them. You have to be honest with yourself about what score streaks you're actually going to be able to earn on a regular basis and go with those. And the only things that I really like to see banned or protected, I like to see the hive protected because your goalie needs that in order to make himself that much more effective. And I like to see overdrive banned because overdrive seems like the one perk that could really blast a hole in this strategy and get them past your defense pretty, well, obviously quickly, because that's the whole point of overdrive. So thanks for listening and watching. I hope this video was helpful to you. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at TheRealJDodds1, and goodbye.